Hello and welcome. Today I am sharing with you how I read different makeup and skincare ingredients labels. First, we'll discuss some general information regarding ingredients labels, and then I'll show you how I categorize all the different ingredients, as well as ingredients I commonly find in each category. Finally, we'll go over product packaging and what to look for, and that's going to also include what all those different symbols mean. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and you hit that notification bell, because my videos help you to become a more informed consumer. You should absolutely know about the ingredients going into the different makeup, hair care, and skincare products that you use. Getting into these ingredients, the first thing I want to point out is if you are interested in learning more about the ingredients in your products, you have to hold on to the packaging, because on the packaging you will see the ingredients labels. They are not required to be on the actual product themselves. So right here I have the Dr. Barbara Sturm Hydrating Face Mist, and right here on the back I see the ingredients, but of course on the actual mist itself there are no ingredients to be found. Now, the next thing I want to point out to you is, have you ever noticed that water is sometimes called aqua in the ingredients labels? And that's because of the international nomenclature of cosmetic ingredients. It is a systematic way to identify cosmetic ingredients, and it's used globally to give uniformity to the industry. Another example of the ICNI is vitamin E is often called tocopherol. Plant names are identified as their Latin name with the common name in parentheses. Getting into the order of the ingredients are always listed from the greatest quantity to the least quantity. However, there is a catch, which is that if an ingredient counts for less than 1% of the formula, it doesn't need to be in order. So there's this invisible 1% line, and once you hit that, the ingredients can be in any which order, and the reason for that is to keep the formula a secret so other companies can't copy it. It is possible to guess where the 1% mark starts, and to do that you have to work backwards a little bit. I'm going to share with you a list of some ingredients that usually give you an indicator of where that 1% mark is. It is butylene glycol, xanthan gum, ethoxydiglycol, sodium hydroxide, polyacrylamide, and phenoxyethanol. Now, there are two things I want to point out about this. If an ingredient is less than 1% of the formula, that doesn't mean it's not effective. All it means is that it is 1%, less than 1% of the formula. The second thing I want to point out is that if you're buying a formula for a specific ingredient and the formula is really highlighting this ingredient, it is less than 1%, and everything else in the formula seems to be thickeners or texture enhancers, that is something to be mindful of, especially if that product is very expensive. Getting into active versus inactive ingredients, if the product treats or prevents a condition and contains ingredients classified as a drug, then active versus inactive ingredients needs to be listed. Common examples of this would be sunscreen, as well as anti-dandruff shampoo, which is actually the example that was given on the FDA's website. I do want to point out that according to the FDA, and I got this off the website, a product is cosmetic if it's intended for uses such as cleansing the human body, making a person more attractive, or changing a person's appearance. And the examples the FDA gave for that is makeup, moisturizers, hair dyes, perfumes, colognes, and nail care products. And the FDA did mention that anti-dandruff shampoo as an example of a product that is a cosmetic as well as a drug. The cosmetic aspect of it would be the fact that it is a shampoo, and the drug aspect of it would be that it contains an ingredient that is meant to treat dandruff. Now, an active ingredient performs a specific function for a specific purpose and is going to make a change to your body. And with the active ingredient, there's always a description of how they work in the product, as well as how that product that contains the ingredient should be applied. An inactive ingredient is an ingredient that's going to support the active ingredient or add extra moisturizing, hydrating benefits. Now let's get into the different categories I use when looking at ingredients labels, as well as common ingredients I find in each one. I do want to point out that sometimes ingredients fall into more than one category, and that's because they serve more than one purpose. The first category is emollients, and emollients smooth and soften the skin. Common emollients are plant oils as well as nut oils like argan oil. Also fatty alcohols like cetearyl alcohol, stearyl alcohol, as well as fatty acids like stearic acid. I also want to point out there are silicones and lots of occlusives as well, and occlusives are substances that provide a protective layer on the skin to reduce transepidermal water loss. Common occlusive emollients are petrolatum, butters including shea butter and mango butter, cocoa butter, as well as mineral oil, lanolin, and dimethicone. Next up, we have humectants, and humectants are hydrators. They bind to water and they take water from the surface of the skin and even in humid environments, and they hold it into the skin, giving a wonderful temporary plumping effect. Common humectants are hyaluronic acid, which you've heard me talk about in so many of my different videos, propylene glycol, glycerin, sorbitol, sodium PCA, urea, butylene glycol, and honey, as well as aloe vera. Don't want to forget that one. Next up, we have the antioxidants, and they combat free radical damage. Antioxidants help to turn back that clock and give us a more youthful looking appearance. Common antioxidants are vitamin A, which can also be called retinol, retinoic acid, or tretinoin, vitamin C, and common vitamin C ingredients include L-ascorbic acid, as well as sodium ascorbyl phosphate. There's vitamin E, which is tocopherol, as well as tocopherol acetate, green tea, resveratrol, and ferulic acid, as well as vitamin B3, which is also known as niacinamide. Now let's move on to the exfoliants, and there are two categories of exfoliants. There's chemical and physical. Chemical exfoliants include alpha hydroxy acids, which are known as AHAs, and these help to exfoliate and brighten the skin. Common AHAs include lactic acid as well as glycolic acid. The next type of chemical exfoliant is beta hydroxy acids, also known as BHAs. And the common BHA is salicylic acid, which helps to dissolve excess sebum in the skin. This is a great treatment for acne. Finally, we have polyhydroxy acid, which is known as PHA, and these are a milder form of AHAs. PHAs also are humectants and antioxidants, and examples of PHAs are glucanolactone, galactose, and lactobionic acid. The physical exfoliants include scrubs, and a common example of this is the walnut scrub. It's anything that's abrasive and granular, and you're going to put it on your skin and rub it around in order to exfoliate away the dead skin cells. Now we have binders and emulsifiers, and these help to keep formulas intact, stable, and to keep the oil and the water portions of the formula together so they don't separate. Common binders and emulsifiers include fatty alcohols, including cetearyl alcohol, cetyl alcohol, and stearyl alcohol, and these are also emollients. We just went over this before in the emollients category. There's also polyethylene glycol, also an emollient, polysorbate butylene glycol, also an emollient, glyceryl stearate, which is an emollient, and it also has a bit of a pearlescent look to it. So it's used a lot in creams to have a nice sheen to the skin. There's also triethanolamine, which is also a buffer. It helps to stabilize the pH of the formula. lecithin, and stearic acid, another fatty acid, which is an emollient and a surfactant. Now, speaking of surfactants, they are surface active agents. They help to stabilize the formula at the oil and water interface by reducing surface tension. So they're going to keep that oil and that water from separating and to really stabilize the emulsion. Surfactants can usually be found in products with foam and lots of cleansers. Examples of surfactants are sodium lauryl sulfate, disodium lauryl sulfosuccinate, and cocoamidopropyl betaine. Whew, that was a mouthful. Now let's move on to the texture enhancers. Texture enhancers give the formula a very sensory type of experience. They're nice to touch and they want to make you use the product. They'll help the product glide on nicely and give you that luxurious feel. Now, different texture enhancers include butylene glycol, caprylic capric triglyceride, fatty acids and fatty alcohols, dimethicone, myristyl myristate, nylon 12, natural waxes, algae, and cellulose. You can see in my list that some of these are starred, and the ones that are starred are also thickeners, and thickeners do exactly what they sound like they're going to do. They thicken up the formula. Other thickeners include tapioca starch, synthetic fluoroflogopite, magnesium stearate, sorbitol, silica, and xanthan gum. We also have solvents, and solvents help to dissolve certain ingredients in the formula to make the formula more stable and consistent. Solvents include water, alcohol, denatured alcohol, benzyl alcohol, propylene glycol, isododecacaine, methylpropanediol, and C1315 alkane. Now we have stabilizers, and stabilizers help to stabilize the pH of the formula. They keep the formula functioning and help it from breaking down. Within these stabilizers, we have chelating agents, and chelating agents help to prevent heavy metals in the water from degrading ingredients in the formula. They inactivate the metallic ions, and that can come from the water itself in the formula or even from metal used in the formulation process in the factory. Two different chelating agents are EDTA as well as sodium gluconate. And we also have BHT as a stabilizer, and this is also an antioxidant. Now let's move on to the preservatives, and preservatives help to extend the shelf life of the formula, and they have antimicrobial properties to them. Common preservatives are tocopherol acetate, which is vitamin E, propylene and butylene glycol, which are also humectants, parabens, phenoxyethanol, benzyl alcohol, ascorbyl palmitate, which is vitamin C, gluconolactone, which is a polyhydroxy acid, also a humectant and a solvent, and finally ethyl hexyl glycerin. Let's now move on to the opacifying agents, and these help to make the product more opaque, less clear, and less translucent. Common opacifying agents are mica, synthetic fluoroflogopite, aluminum oxide, and titanium dioxide. Colorants are also opacifying agents, and you'll see these typically at the very bottom of an ingredients list, and they typically have dye numbers, dye names like Lake with a series of numbers afterwards, or CI with a series of numbers. Now let's chat about the fragrances, and these are typically either essential oils or they're an ingredient that's called fragrance/perfume. Now, this is also considered a trade secret, and companies do not need to disclose what ingredients go into the very vague fragrance ingredient. It could have up to 200 chemicals, and we have absolutely no way of knowing. Buffers help to balance the pH in the formula, and three common buffers are triethanolamine, sodium bicarbonate, and citric acid. Absorbent ingredients give mattifying properties, and common absorbents in cosmetics and skincare products are boron nitride, kaolin, charcoal, aluminum hydroxide, bentonite, and nylon 12. Finally, I just want to touch on a few other anti-aging ingredients, and these are peptides, ceramides, and cholesterol, and these all help to make up the lipid matrix in the skin, and the lipid matrix is on the stratum corneum, which is the outer layer of our skin. It's sort of the substance that goes in between the different skin cells and is responsible for helping to keep our skin looking very youthful, supple, and elastic. So those are the categories I use when I'm examining ingredients labels. If you enjoyed learning about that, please give me a big thumbs up right now. I really appreciate it. So before we get into the symbols, I just want to chat about what you can typically find on product packaging. Right here, I have the Super Goop, which is the brand name, Everyday Sunscreen, which is the name of the product. Down here, it says that it's 18 fluid ounces and 532 milliliters, so it's letting me know the weight and volume of the product. On the back side, and in this case, since there is a drug in this product, which is the sunscreen, it shows me the active ingredients as well as how to use it and directions, and the inactive ingredients. We can also see symbols that are relevant to this product and directions on how to use the product. On the bottom, there are more symbols, and there is the Mobius right here. The first symbol is the open jar. It looks like an open jar icon, and this is the period after opening PAO symbol. It always has a number on it. That number is the amount of time you can use the product after opening it in months. The next symbol is the green dot symbol, and this is from an organization called Pro Europe. And when you see this symbol on a product, it means that a financial contribution has been paid to a qualified national packaging recovery organization. And the book means to refer to an insert inside the box. As far as animal testing goes, the common bunny that we see, this is the PETA bunny, and what that simply means is that a company has filled out a form that they don't test on animals. They send that form to PETA, and then PETA allows them to use the logo. The leaping bunny means that the product adheres to standards of Cruelty-Free International and the Coalition for Consumer Information on Cosmetics. The Mobius loop is the triangle made out of arrows, and it means that the packaging is recyclable. If the Mobius loop is inside of a circle, that means that the package was already made out of recyclable materials. Thank you so much for watching my video on how to read cosmetic and skincare ingredients labels. I hope you found it informative, helpful, and you learned something new. Feel free to come back to this video anytime you want to check up on the ingredient labels of your products. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe now to Lauren O'Connell Beauty TV, and let's navigate together through the world of beauty.